This video will explain the editing option referred to as raise or lower an area of the surface. I begin by switching to the Surfaces mode. Then, as I did in the video about adding or cutting the inside of a shape, I will create a cylindrical surface with a 6-unit radius, 8 units long in the x-axis, and 4 units wide in the y-axis. It is already showing these values because they are the last values that I set them to. Next, I will put some text over the cylindrical surface. I'll draw a box to show MillWrite where I want the text to fit into, and then I'll type some text. I'll set it to be a TrueType font like I did in the previous video because this editing option also requires items that have an inside. Next, I'll create a polyline that has an inside area. You can watch the other video if you want details on creating the text and polyline. Now I will switch to the 3D mode, and I'll set the ortho mode to the Z-axis, and then I'll move the cylinder down a bit in the Z-axis. I will switch editing modes to the option of raising or lowering an area of the surface. At the top of the drawing page is a data field for the Z increment. When raising or lowering the surface, the Z levels will change by that particular increment. For this example, I'll set the increment to 0.05 units. At the top of the screen are buttons to raise or lower in the Z-axis. The letter R in raise and the letter L in lower are different colors, which shows that those are the keyboard shortcut keys. Therefore, I can either click those buttons or press the R or the L key on the keyboard. I'll click the Raise button. Notice that the area within the text and polyline has been raised upward by the Z increment that I specified. If I click the Raise button again, it once again rises upward by that same increment. Every time I click the Raise button, that area moves up by that amount. If I click the other button to lower in the Z-axis, the area within the text and polyline are reduced by that Z increment. If I hold the mouse down, it will continuously move until I let go of the button. In the video about adding or cutting the inside, the Z level of the text and polyline determined how the surface would be altered. But when raising or lowering the surface, the Z level of the items is irrelevant. You only need to be concerned about their XY location. If I move the location of the text and polyline and then click the raise or lower button, the area within that new location are altered. When you click the raise or lower buttons, every item that is over a surface will be used to alter the surface. As I explained in the video about add or cut inside, you have 4 ways to restrict which items are used to raise or lower the surface. I will not explain them again, except to point out that the only difference between those options is in their shortcut keys. Specifically, for option number 3, in which you let the mouse hover over an item, you press the R key to raise the surface or the L key to lower the surface, rather than pressing the Y key. For example, I'll let the mouse hover over this polyline, and every time I press the R key on the keyboard, only the area in that polyline rises upward. At the top of the screen is a data field that lets you specify a value that will limit which part of the surface is affected. If you put a value in that field, only the area of the surface that is above that particular Z level will be altered. I will first delete this surface and then press the Escape key and then the Enter key 3 times in a row to recreate the surface, as I explained in the video about the function to add or cut the inside of an area. Now I will use the measure in the z-axis function to find out where the middle of the cylinder is. It is at about -1. Therefore, I will type -1 in the if above data field. This specifies that the surface to be altered must be above a z-level of -1. Now, when I click the Raise button, only the areas that are above a z-level of -1 are altered. If I click the Lower button, only the areas that are higher than a z-level of -1 will be lowered. And as soon as those areas drop to -1, they do not go any lower. If I move the letter in the x-axis and then click Lower again, only those areas above the level of -1 will drop, and they stop dropping as soon as they reach -1.